Thanks to the support as a channel member, Sean Pringle. Hello, Mrs. Wearmouth. What do you mean? How did the playoffs go? Surely you watched them, yeah? You didn't watch them. We won. Yeah, we won them. We got promoted. Gonna need some big budgets for the new season though. Yeah, please do see what you can do. Yeah, definitely need budgets to reflect the fact we're now playing at a higher level after, like I say, after winning the playoffs. Hello and welcome to part 23 of Holiday Home. I'm Kevin. Coming up on today's episode, we have our season review and transfer special after what happened yesterday, which everybody don't tell her what actually happened yesterday. Because as far as Mrs. Wearmouth is concerned, she wanted us to win the playoffs, and we've passed that. The board is satisfied the team have tried their best in the... Okay, so... apparently, despite being required to win it, just trying our best is all that she actually needed from us. I would question in the final 15, 20 minutes of that playoff semi-final whether we could even be classed as trying our best. But I don't know. Maybe I'm hoping she thinks we've been promoted, because that will then help solve this problem of us being over our wage budget. Although we are actually on the committed spending £1,000 a week under what our current wage budget is. I don't know what the new wage budget is going to be. I'd like to think it will be an increase, but obviously there's no guarantee. And that's with a number of these players who are out of contract at the end of the season. We haven't set them for release yet. So there's going to be a few more pounds here and there coming off that number as well. So perfect scenario for us, as far as budgets are concerned, is we clear off everyone who's out of contract. That leaves us with like £2,500 a week spare. Mrs. Wearmouth then gives us an extra grand plus a big scouting budget, which can shift around and maybe give ourselves an extra 500 quid there. And if we could go into this summer with the core of the team, because all these guys are in for at least one more year, and these are the guys that I'm happy to build the team around. If we sort by ability, that's the best half. The best half of the squad are all under contract for the coming year. If we could go into the summer with those guys under contract and an extra £3,000 a week to spend on bringing in 4 or 5 really good players to compete with them, and then bring a few of the youngsters up from the youth team to top out a 22-man squad, I think we'll be okay. I actually think if we'd have had this squad in its entirety for the whole of last year, so Kevin Carlos for the whole season, I think we'd have won the league anyway. So I don't think we need to do a lot to the team, but obviously we're going to do a bit to the team because we want to make sure that we go up as champions. And of course, there's always the fear. We don't yet know what's being relegated from the next tier above, although we probably would have been okay this year with this squad. There's no guarantees about who's getting relegated, and because of the regionalisation of how it all works, I don't even know. We won't know until the seasons tick over who's actually going to be in our league next year. So there's a little bit of mystery fun time for us there as well. So if we look at what our squad is for next season, with the players who are being released, we definitely need a new goalkeeper. Boyer definitely isn't going to be that guy. Zafra, the youngster coming up from the youth team, becomes our only left back. So we're going to need a full-size grown-up left back for Zafra to then compete with. At right back, we don't really have anybody. Ivan's a centre-back, so we're going to need a couple of right backs. We've got 3 good centre-backs, David, Ivan and Joffrey, so we'd need one more. So really, we need a starting left back, starting right back, and then maybe another guy like Ivan who can play right back and centre-back, and we're probably going to be fine. Alex Boxall becomes the only player who can play holding midfield again, and there is the danger that he might be taken away from us. He's under contract for 2 more years, but we've got financial problems. He's our prize asset. If we get a decent offer for him, he has to leave. And I think if he left, we'd probably abandon the system and go to the 4-2-3-1 that would suit Kukureya and Isra better, who are both still going to be here. The whole reason we're still doing this is probably because it suits Alex Boxall the best. As much as I want him to be Alex Boxall, he always performs at his best when he's playing at the base of the midfield. Central midfield, we've got an embarrassment of riches We've got Rabiot, we've got Isra, we've got Cucurella. Ortola's going to be coming back. He's been away on loan all year. Russ Eddy is due to come back as well, although not showing up anywhere on here, so maybe he's out of contract. We might have to make a decision about Russ Eddy. We probably need, between the three midfield positions, one or two bodies, maybe. Someone who can cover at defensive midfield, and then another central midfielder. And then on the left wing, we know we're very good. We've got Rabiot and Perez, but Ivan can play out there too. Apparently Zafra can also play there. And then on the right, Fakal is still under contract for 2 more years. And the youngster Ivan is more than ready to be his backup, if not force his way into the team ahead of him this year. And then Kevin Carlos as our main man up front. We just need to bring in someone to compete with him. We're not going to bring in another guy at this level, but someone who can just be a decent option off the bench. I think I've lost patience with Talavera, but we do need a backup striker, because wouldn't it be a pickle if Carlos got injured at a really important part of the season and we didn't have anyone good enough to come in and replace him? Only an idiot would get themselves into a predicament like that. So I don't know how many times I'm going to have to hit continue before we get the season review. We'll try it 3 times, and if that doesn't work, we'll stick in a little cut and we'll cut to it. So that's 1 continue. This is 2 continue. We get our season review. I've played this game before, boys and girls. So our season review, we start off looking at the signing of the season, which of course was only ever going to be one guy, Kevin Carlos, little Kev. 17 appearances, 16 goals, a 7.25 average rating. If he'd have been here all year, he scores 30 plus goals. And like I say, if he'd have been here all year and scores 30 plus goals, we win the league pretty easily, I think. So hopefully we can get him fit, ready for the start of pre-season, and keep him fit all year. The rest of the signings last year, a little bit of a mixed bag, really. Was Cucurella new? Hold on. Yeah, he was. Feels like he's been here forever. But he's a decent one. Bernabeu, Gutierrez, less so, but Joffrey was great. Febas, Talavera, So it's, I mean, as you would expect from our scattergun transfer policy, it is very hit and miss. But I think, to be honest, based on the budget restrictions that we've got, we saw in yesterday's video just how little we have in the way of money compared to everyone else in this league. If we're able to bring in 3 good first teamers every year from transfers, Carlos, Cucurella, Joffrey, I think that's fine, and will lead to gradual improvement in the team as time goes on, as long as we're then in a position to keep hold of them. The board, Mrs. Wearmouth, expected us to. She didn't. That was not the pre-season expectation. We were supposed to finish in the top half, and we did. This is not acceptable. Yes, we had a shaky spell before we got our proper striker. We dealt with it. I think it was a masterstroke letting Pierce go and bringing in Carlos when I did. I feel like I should have been rewarded by the game for proactive transfers, not waiting until the summer like I usually do. Money stuff is never going to be fixed until we're at a level that has any kind of income at all. So we don't worry too much about that. And as you can imagine, Carlos sells more shirts than anybody else. Interesting that the club in-game still only sells about half as many shirts in a year as we sold as a community over the course of the 3 weeks they were available for pre-order. So you lot, better than the home fans in-game, clearly. And this was our team of the year for Hardo in goal, who is done. We'll be moving him on. Vega, done. Ivan and Joffrey. Lopez, done. Boxall, Isra and Cucurella. Rabiot on the left. Fakal on the right. Carlos up front. So the front 6 and the centre-backs are all here for next year. It's a goalkeeper and 2 fullbacks we need as first teamers, and then just some squad players. It seems like it should be a relatively straightforward summer. It's not going to be a straightforward summer, is it? Very interesting that Cucurella has won Fans Player of the Year and Young Player of the Year. Carlos presumably just didn't play enough games to become Player of the Year. Did get Signing of the Year, as we already know. Finished as top scorer. Isra, most assists, despite playing in that more withdrawn role this year. Carlos, most man of the matches. Cucurella, highest average rating. Yeah, so Carlos didn't play enough matches to be considered for that one or the Player of the Year, or presumably he would have won Player of the Year. He did set a couple of records, though. Most goals in a match and most goals in a league match for scoring 4 goals. And Talavera, in his one and only season at the club, set a record that's probably never going to be broken. Fastest goal at 10 seconds. And that's our all-time best 11. What's Florek up to now? Has he matured as a person? Because Florek with his head screwed on, right? would be an ideal summer signing, but no, he's playing regularly. Is that the top division, or is that the... I don't know what... That might be the top league in Poland he's playing in now, but his face is just still so punchable. I just ain't bringing him back. Interesting that Vega and Lopez both in the all-time best 11, but we're bidding them both off. And then most of the rest of the team looks like the current team. Obviously, Pierce at the moment ahead of Carlos, but that will probably change if Carlos stays fit for the coming year. Supporters-wise, we've actually lost social media followers. There are people who've unfollowed us because of what happened in the playoffs, presumably. They can't stand us anymore. And this year, Mrs. Wearmouth is looking for us to reach the playoffs once again. And she thinks we're on course to work within our wage budget. But the wage budget hasn't been set yet, and we're over last season's one. She's a confusing lady. Our only team leader or highly influential player is Ivan Fakal, which I'm trying not to trouble me too much. He's certainly not the best player anymore. And we do need to bring up some more leaders. I need Rabiu to take a step up leadership-wise. Boxall. I'm hoping these are the boys who are going to stick around for a while and become captain and vice-captain going forward. And then we are looking to get into the playoffs. There's too many words to read. Is that the one? Does that say playoffs? It does say playoffs. There we go. So everyone is happy and delighted by that. And now we just need to... We'll just quickly update the squad planner, which I think we might have already done, actually. We already know what we need. It's very much now a case of letting these contracts expire. Oh, so we've already been given a bit... Has she set the budget? Did I miss an email? Because the budget's gone up. Budget. When the bleeping heck did that come through? Did anyone else see that? Hold on. It's 10 a.m. on Monday. That came through at 11:56 Sunday. So I did just completely miss it. So our new budget, 8.25k a week. So it's gone up a little bit. I think our budget previously was like 7,000. So the dream scenario might yet be working. We've got £2,000 a week spare based on our current committed spending. There's a few more of these that we haven't set to release yet. Plus, we've still got scouting budget shenanigans to do. Positives so far, I want to say. So we have made it through to the 1st of July. We've had a lot of first teamers from last year who've moved on as well. We've cleared out some of the dead wood. Iago Lopez, Bernabeu, Guterres, Fajardo, Vega, Febas, Talavera, and Andrew McRobbie all being released by the club this summer. That combined with the little bit of extra transfer budget, wage budget, that Mrs. Wearmouth gave us, and the usual shenanigans with the scouting budget means that we go into the 1st of July with a wage budget of £9,500 a week, and we're only currently spending £5,000 a week, and that's after giving new contracts to Alex Boxall and Rabiu as well, who are our two homegrown superstars. All of that leaves us going into the 1st of July with a 14-man first team squad. Realistically, Boyer is probably going to go out on loan. Rob Harley will probably drop back down to the under-19s when all is said and done. He's only 16 years old. He might even be loaned out as well. So we've realistically got a squad of 12. Two of them just called Ivan, obviously. So we need to sign 8, 9, 10 players with our £4,500 a week that we've got. So we're looking at £500 a week salaries, unless we find a superstar like Kevin Carlos. So I think that seems fine and doable. So the plan now, as ever, to bring in a load of trialists and then start the rolling, ongoing summer pain of all the good ones going signing for somebody else. And then we'll be back on like the 15th of September and I'll be picking up the scraps that nobody else wanted, hoping we find a gem amongst them. I mean, talking of gems and scraps, Carlos was still available going into the middle of January last year. So there are gems out there. You just gotta find them and potentially pay through the nose for them as well. But there are players that we can pick up. So hopefully next time you see me, we'll pick some up. 6 teams got relegated from our league last year, I've just seen. So I guess that means Peña Independent lost the relegation playoff. An 18-team league where 6 of them got relegated is madness. The season hasn't ticked over, so we don't yet know who is going to be our big scary opponent who comes down from the division above. We're not going to worry about that for now. What we are going to do is focus on bringing in some trialists. We've also done a little bit of changes to the staff setup. We brought in a goalkeeping coach, which means we now have amongst the best coaching in the league. We've got the best shot stopping, and we already had the best defensive coaching and the best fitness coaching and the best mental coaching and the best technical coaching, or whatever that one is, to tactical coaching. Because obviously TCO is tactical. Because the O in tactical. Tactical. Obviously. Why? Why? I don't understand. We don't worry too much about where our recruitment stuff stacks up, because we do everybody based off these trials. We don't really trust scouts just yet because they're all rubbish. And we are in the process of trying to bring in another physio to try and boost that side of things up as well. But we are looking in pretty good shape at the moment. If the next 14 in-day games go well, we are going to cruise to promotion this coming year. We just need 4 or 5 good signings straight away from the first batch of trials in those key positions, because if we look at the squad depth, there's clearly some key positions that need an immediate signing. We need a full-size goalkeeper, we need a full-back on either side, and we need another defensive midfielder. If we can get those guys in immediately and then spend the rest of the summer getting another centre-back, getting a backup striker and just filling in those gaps, maybe with some loans, then I think we're going to be looking very, very good. Well, we have had a very productive first 10 days of July. I'll start off with the signings that we've made so far, which of course, because Football Manager's silly, are showing as last season's signings, but we've brought 3 players in. 2 of them are goalkeepers. Adrian Romero is a 6-foot goalkeeper who, yes, he's on a lot of money, but he was Levante's starting goal, or Levante B's starting goalkeeper for the last 2 years. So he's just won this league. So that seems like a pretty solid goalkeeper addition. And then we've also signed this guy who's a little bit cheaper, and he's 6'4". And he's previously played in this division for Granada B. So we have our goalkeeping situation is dealt with. And we also have our new right back, Ezra Carrington, who's a name that might be familiar from the Manchester City save. I'll level with you. I thought his current ability was a little bit higher than that based on his trial when I offered him that amount of money. He's the second highest paid player at the club. In his defence, he is the only player here who can play right back. So I guess on that basis, he's worth it at the moment. There were some real gems we had in on trial that we've not been able to get over the finish line. In fact, let's just boot these 2 guys out of the first team squad. But with the youngsters being added in and those couple of new signings, we're now up to an 18-man squad, 2 of which are goalkeepers. So we actually only have space in the first team squad for 4 more players, because we're on that limit of 22 players. Although, if it came down to it, Rob Harley, Gustavo Munoz, Russ Eddy, these guys could move down to the B team or the under-19s if they absolutely had to for this to mean anything. I mean, look at this guy. I thought we were getting this guy. I was going to be very happy if we got that guy. But he was one of several who went elsewhere for big pennies. But if I just kill my shortlist, which I can never remember how to do, so I don't really use the shortlist, but let's get everyone off the shortlist, and then we can have a look at the squad planner and have it actually mean something, which will be very pleasant. So you can see we've dealt with the goalkeeper situation. We're a lot stronger at right back now. Carrington as a starter, Ivan as a backup. We still definitely need a left back. We're going with Zafra and Eddie at the moment. So left back is probably top priority in the squad now. We've still only got 3 centre backs, so we need another one of those. And we also still need at least 1 midfielder who can cover defensive midfield and central midfield and a backup striker. So there's still a lot to do, but there's also still a lot of money to do it with. So we're going to get another batch of trials in. But before we do that, the season has just ticked over to the new year, so we can see how good the media think we are, and also who's come down from a higher level to make our life an absolute misery. So season preview. What a time to be alive, boys and girls. We are favourites to win the league before we finish putting the squad together. That being said, Sevilla's C team have been relegated. Now, they're one of the teams who they're showing as bottom because they can't be promoted. Presumably their B team is in the league above. So I think what that means is if Sevilla C, and you can see all of the players in the Dream 11 are Sevilla C players, so they're very good. But I think that means if Sevilla win the league, us finishing second go up automatically. I think that's how it works. So that's probably the best outcome we could have had, to have a team come down who then can't go back up again. Of course, we are relying on Sevilla's B team not getting promoted as well, because if they get promoted, then the C team. There's a lot of moving parts, but I think us being top of the prediction is a positive. I think realistically, we're probably the second best team in the league. We've still got a lot of transfers to do though, so I am going to get back on it and hopefully update you with some shiny new signings in a moment. Right, I think the squad is just about complete. It needs to be just about complete because we've massively overspent. Accidentally, definitely accidentally, there's still one player potentially coming in that my director of football was handling, but we might actually cancel that one. So I'm not sure that we need him. But we have brought in a few more. Gerard Gonzalez is a former Barcelona youngster. We're leading with that. We're then going on to, and he's had 4 years playing in the division above us, 2 of them where he's a regular. So he's played over 60 games in the division above where we are. He's only 22. He's very versatile, can play left back, left wing, centre back. He's 6'2". Yeah, he's only 2.5 stars and thinks he's a fringe player and he's on a lot of money. We're not worrying about any of that stuff. He is our best left back. So he's going to be our starting left back and you're all going to like it. And we've then got another player to play at right back to compete with Carrington. Markel Jimenez is 18 years old. He's a right back, 6'2". We're getting some size in our team, some big boys. He can also play centre back, 2.5 stars of current ability, lots of potential. I'm going to push Carrington for a starting spot, but might also push to get into the team at centre back. We've signed Sai Maggio. If you follow Football Manager YouTube, you'll know why that's his name. I'm not saying it. We just wanted some versatility. He's 28. He can provide cover for Alex Boxall at defensive midfield, but he can also play central midfield. He can also play centre back. He's another one who's 6 foot tall, has played in the division above. These are the kind of players we're trying to collect. Players with experience playing at this level or higher, just to stop us bottling it at the end because we've never experienced it before. And we have our backup striker, Ivan Luis, is 20 years old, bags of potential, lots of ability as well. Ability-wise, he's one of the better players at the club already. Some of you won't like this for a striker. I'll remind you of Jorge Hernandez. Go back and watch Born in the USA. Understand how little that matters. And he's another one who's played at the division higher for Real Hispalis B. Got 8 goals in the division above where we are last year. So with those guys in, if we just go and remove everyone else from our short list, we can, we've got nobody on the short list. Oh, is it because these guys are still trialists? So we've still got some trialists in, but we're not going to worry too much about the trialists being in the way. What we're focusing on is the fact that the squad is looking pretty solid. We've got 2 goalkeepers. If we go to centre back, we've actually got the 3 from last year who are good enough. And then Sai Maggio, Gonzalez, Jimenez, all those guys can provide cover there. And we've got that guy that the director of football is trying to bring in as well that would make it 4 regulars. And then these 3 are just emergency cover if needed. At left back, we've got Zafra, we've got Gonzalez. Jeffrey can cover there. Joffrey can, we're going to have to change his name now, aren't we? Joffrey can cover there if need be. And Russ Eddy is still knocking about the place as well. And then we've got Carrington and Jimenez at right back. Defensive midfield, we've got Boxall, we've got Maggio, and then central midfield, box to Boxall could move forward if need be. Then we've got Rabiu, we've got Isra, we've got Kukurea, and then a bunch more players, again, as emergency cover, which is what we didn't really have a lot of last year. Left wing, Martinez Perez is our starter, but Rabiu could play there if he's not in central midfield. Zafra or Gonzalez could move forward from left back. Ivan could move over from the right-hand side. Rob Harley is a youngster, 16 years old with 5-star potential. And again, still got Russ Eddy knocking around the place as well. On the right wing, we've got Fakal, we've got Ivan. Ivan, I think this is the year Ivan surpasses Big Ivan. We've got Big Ivan and Little Ivan. And I think Ivan becomes our starting right winger before the end of the season. He's got loads of potential and ability-wise is already almost as good as Fakal. And then up front, we've got Luis, we've got Carlos, and Ivan can provide some cover there as well. So I am pretty happy with that as a squad. Ideally, we'd have one more striker. We might be able to still bring in some free loans. We've usually had some pretty decent success with doing that. So a freebie loan coming in as a striker and maybe one more midfielder would be helpful. I think registration-wise at the moment, because we've got a lot of youngsters, Jimenez, Zafra, Munoz, Harley, none of them need registering. So although we're only allowed 22 players, you don't have to register the under-19s. So we actually still have room for 4 more players. And that could be 4 freebie loans to really fill out some of the positions where we're a little bit weaker. I am feeling very, very positive with how this summer is going. We've got nobody in the Dream 11 because Sevilla C are absurd. But Alex Boxall is now our best player and is pretty high up on the list. If you're wondering why all the teams are completely different, by the way, it did confuse me briefly. It's because we've moved. We were in Group 3 last year. We're now in Group 4. That's why it's all completely different teams. But after having an old enemy of Levante B last year, this year we hook back up with another old enemy in Elche B. So, yeah, we can't get away from our old rivals just yet. That's probably why they moved us over, so we could carry on having a rivalry with them. But like I say, very positive. Still less than 2 weeks into July, and our squad is already almost complete. The players haven't even come back for pre-season training yet. That's how efficient we're being this summer. Next time you see me, I'm going to be dripping with freebie loans. Right, we have Squozen. We're going with Squozen. We've Squozen in a couple of new players. I think Fran Tafalla was on his way in at the last clip. He did come in. He's cheap. This is the one my director of football found. This is the quality my director of football finds these days. Goodness me, do I miss Romeo? And then we've got 4 loans just because they were free. We didn't scout any of them. We don't really know if any of them, well, we didn't know if any of them were any good. We've kind of figured that out now. We've got a young Andorran international with 3 caps for Andorra at 18 years old. Ivan Hurtado, who is a striker. He's only got 1.5 stars of current ability, 5-star potential. So he might end up really good. He could do a Mick Powell over the course of the season and then we'd be fine. But we just needed a couple of extra bodies who could play striker. So we got him. And we also got Ivan Moreno, who was partly in as another striker, but partly as an option on right wings. We only had Ivan and Ivan Fakal on the right wing. So we've brought Ivan Moreno. Why are they all called Ivan? So he's in as a potential player on the right-hand side. He's actually played 40-odd games in the division above us over the last few years, still only 20. So definitely something about him. Also for the competition on the right-hand side, we have a 4th Ivan for the right wing. This one can play pretty much anywhere. What a weird selection of positions he can play. 21 years old, primarily a right midfielder or right winger. Not as much potential as the other guys who've come in, and not really played at particularly high level. So, I mean, he's not any good really, but he was free, and that's the joy of these guys. And then we've got this man who has no surname, Christian Martin something. Does he have a surname? Oh, there we go. He does have a surname. Christian Martin Reina. He is in. He's a central midfielder, just the kind of the 4th or 5th choice that we've got in that position, just for a little bit more strength and depth. Again, pretty rubbish, but not costing us anything, so it doesn't really matter. With those loanees in, because several of them are young, we have managed to stay below the registration limit. We're allowed a maximum of 22 players. We've got 21 players registered, and then Jimenez, Zafra, and Hurtado are both young enough to not, or all 3 of them are young enough to not need to be registered. So we've actually got a squad of 24, although some of them, the likes of Hurtado and most of the loans, to be honest, unless things get desperate, don't expect to see much of the loans. So those guys are all in. That leaves the first team looking pretty good. The media still think that we are, wrong button. The media still think we're favourites for promotion, although obviously we take that with a pinch of salt because of the Sevilla C situation. Players wise, we've got Alex Boxall, who you now don't have to scroll to find. So he is one of the better players in the division. And then you don't have to scroll very far to find Rabiu as well. So our 2 homegrown boys are now amongst the best players in the division, which is very nice to see. They will both be part of the first team ordinarily. Obviously, Alex Boxall is suspended because of that red card he got in the playoffs. So Sai Maggio will make his debut in tomorrow's first matches of the new season. But there's a familiar look around the front five, front six. Obviously, that will normally be Boxall. But we know who these guys are. They've pretty much been settled in those positions, certainly since January, February time when Carlos came in and Martinez, Perez and Rabiot finally both got fit at the same time. It was the goalkeeper and the defence that we needed to upgrade, and I think we've definitely upgraded where needed. Adrian Romero is a significant upgrade as a goalkeeper. 2 seasons in a row, he's been Levante B's goalkeeper at this level, and if he ends up being rubbish, we've got a big boy who's also played at this level previously as his backup. Yes, we're spending over £1,000 a week on goalkeepers, but it's an area we really struggled last year, and if we had a proper goalkeeper last year, who knows what might have happened. And then Ivan is continuing to develop and is now considered our best centre-back on star rating. He is out of contract at the end of the year, and because we've overspent a little bit, we can't currently offer him a new contract. So we kind of need to move somebody on. I'm thinking we do a similar thing with Ivan Fakal this January to what we did with Ignacio Pearce last January. And over the course of the season, hopefully Ivan pushes past Fakal to become our regular starter. And when that happens, we can sell Fakal, free up his £300 a week salary, make Rabiot captain and use the spare salary to give defender Ivan a new contract so he can cement his spot as starting centre-back. We've got Joffrey from last year alongside him, a left footer and a right footer. It's perfect. And then we've upgraded the fullbacks, Carrington and Gonzalez, come in from Barcelona and Manchester City. So they've certainly got pedigree. What they don't have at the moment is current ability, but they have bags of potential. They're young. They're going to get better. And I think they're going to end up being good signings, although they're both on a lot of money. They're both in the top 5 highest paid players at the club, despite on star rating alone being considered some of the worst players at the club. But again, pinch of salt stuff. I think they're going to be really good. And then we've got decent backups as well. Obviously, we've already looked at Jimenez as the backup goalkeeper, but Christian David is still here to back up centre-back and holding midfield. We've got Ivan, who can back up on either wing and up front. The new guy, Jimenez, can play right-back and centre-back. We've got, obviously, Boxall to come back into the mix. Zafra can play anywhere up the left-hand side. Kukureya's not even in this squad. I mean, we probably need to rectify that and get Kukureya up onto the bench. And we've got the new striker, Ivan Luis, who's not fully fit for this first day of the season. But again, I think for the sake of just getting him some match fitness, we get him up onto the bench for the first day of the season as well. So I think strong squad, good depth. I think the media are right. If we start well, and like we said at the end of last year, if we'd have had Kevin Carlos all year, he scores 30 goals and we win the league. I think we've upgraded in the areas that needed upgrading, and we've got more strength in the areas, more strength in depth behind Carlos, behind Boxall, and then we've improved the areas where we were really weak, which was fullback and goalkeeper. So we're going to win the league. If we don't win the league, Mrs. Wearmouth, fire me. We're just going to do it. I've got no fear. Come and get me. I'm not afraid. Fire me if we don't win the league this year. And to find out if my confidence is correctly positioned, you're going to want to come back for the first couple of matches of the season, which will be in tomorrow's video. So make sure you pop back for those this time tomorrow. But if you have enjoyed this video, please make sure you leave a nice big thumbs up on there for me. Subscribe to the channel for daily Football Manager videos. And thank you very much for watching.